listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in, and glad to have you with me. We inch closer and closer to LSU and Texas A&M, a showdown in Kyle Field, top 15 matchup. The only two remaining undefeated teams in Southeastern Conference play do battle 6:30 p.m. on Saturday. And what an atmosphere, what a game. A&M's doing a blackout. That is the anticipation building and building and building. You know, we always talk about the big game feeling when you have one in town. You can kind of start to feel the buzz around Wednesday, and by Thursday, I mean, it's just cranked up. Everybody's ready for the weekend. I'm starting to feel a little bit that even for a road game here, man. Like this one just, it has that big game feeling. You know what? It's what they've always really wanted LSU, Texas A&M to be. And quite honestly, more often than not, Texas A&M just never held up their side of the bargain there. This is the first time since A&M has entered the league that both teams enter the game with real postseason aspirations at the same time that they're both playing for. And, I mean, that ultimately is how, you know, quote-unquote rivalries are born. It's not cups or, you know, revenge games or anything like that. It is you have two teams that are good, that fight tooth and nail, hard-fought games each and every single year in and year out. This is the first time it's happened. We'll see if it'll be a trend. Mike Elko definitely has that thing going in the correct direction there at A&M. So we're going to continue to talk about LSU and the Aggies. You might have already seen this game before on LSU's schedule, and I'll tell you what I mean, and we'll get into a little bit of that here going forward. Remember to subscribe, like, share, follow me on social media. Greatly appreciated at Musso Matthew on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram at Matthew Musso1. All of that greatly appreciated. And let's dive in. So, said you might have already seen this matchup before. This game reminds me very much of LSU Ole Miss from a matchup standpoint. Specifically, LSU's offense going up against A&M's defense. Texas A&M is a defense that is extremely strong in the front seven. Extremely strong in the front seven. Like, we know that, right? Just look at the defensive line. You got Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, transfer from Purdue. That's the guy who led the Big Ten in sacks last year. He's one of the top edge rushers in the country. Now, yes, you feel good with LSU's offensive line there, specifically in pass rush. But even at the linebacker spot, you have really good talent. A guy like Scooby Williams, right? That's a name that everybody knows. But you also have York there at the linebacker spot. It's arguably the best front seven you've seen all year with respect to Ole Miss, arguably. And think back to that game. LSU's offense got off to a slow start on their home field in that game. Ole Miss was able to really stuff out the run and play a lot of coverage. And also, LSU didn't even really try to run the football that much in that game to begin with. And while you got it going eventually in that Ole Miss game offensively, you didn't score your first touchdown until 5:33 remaining in the first half. You got off to the slow start with them attacking you that way. Texas A&M could absolutely do something similar, especially in the run game. When you look at Texas A&M's rush defense, I mean, y'all, with all that talent, not to be surprised, they are one of the best in the country. 36th in the nation, allowing 116 yards per game. That is a team that can absolutely operate under that. The difference is Ole Miss's secondary is better. So when I look at A&M, I think this has to be the path they follow. Because they might get some pressure on Garrett Nussmeier. They're not going to get a lot. Because nobody has. And if they do, good for them. They're the best front you've seen. Right now, South Carolina is the team that's gotten the most pressure on Garrett Nussmeier. And that was Will Campbell's worst game of his career and it came in his junior year, I don't think he's going to have two worst games in his career in one season, right? Emory Jones is the reigning SEC Offensive Lineman of the Week. A&M has a great pass rush, but good luck. It's the conversation we've had. So for me, they have to play coverage because their secondary in conference games only, because I'm not interested in what they did against McNeese. I'm not really interested in what they did against Notre Dame with Riley Leonard, who is a running back, an athlete playing quarterback. He's not a quarterback. This is a very familiar narrative that we talked about leading into the Arkansas game. A&M's defense, their secondary, has not seen an offense. They have not seen a quarterback like Garrett Nussmeier yet. In conference games only, they have faced Graham Mertz. They have faced Talon Green. They have faced Brady Cook, who, albeit coming off of a great season last year, but that Missouri offense has not been anywhere close to what it was in 2023. They faced a freshman backup in Michael Van Buren against Mississippi State. And in conference games, Texas A&M has given up 240 yards through the air. If LSU keeps Garrett Nussmeier clean, he should be able to feast there. But how does LSU get off to a quicker start offensively in this type of matchup where, like I said, you expect A&M to play coverage because they believe that they can stop the run, like Ole Miss did? Run the ball. And that's where we turn to Caleb Durham. Caleb Durham has played in 6 LSU games this year, starting with Nichols. They have won all of them. Obviously, that is not all due to Caden Durham, but there are patterns you can look at with him in the biggest matchups of the year and see major success for the LSU offense, as well as his touches increase throughout the season. And all of this, mind you, with him not playing at 100%. Remember, he had the dislocated toes in the game against South Alabama, went back in, and then LSU got it big, and they're like, hey, man, go rest. Has the bye week, comes back for Ole Miss. Brian Kelly on Monday said, yeah, he's still not back to 100%.
I'm really impressed with a freshman running back that is not playing at 100%, but in there playing with grit and toughness and just the kind of resolve that he has. A lot of guys would not be in the game. He's playing at about 80, 85%, but he's got great vision. He's got toughness, keeps his legs moving, and injuries are hard to deal with at any position. But when you're a running back and you've got an injury and you're still fighting through it, I think it says a lot about the young man, and really proud of him.
80, 85% playing through it. But you've seen the snap count increase each week. The last 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, he set season highs in each of the last 2 weeks. But you can go back to the South Carolina game when he took over and really burst onto the scene. 12 snaps in that game. And he willed you to victory in that football game, mind you. Willed you to victory in that game. Ole Miss, coming off that injury, led your running backs in touches again with 15. 12 carries, 3 receptions. Now, LSU threw the ball 51 times there, but it says something that in the biggest game of the year to that point, they were going to Caden Durham. And then last week, another huge game for LSU. All the reasons we talked about, the spot, the letdown, everything, yada, yada, yada. You're looking at 22 touches. He goes over 100 yards rushing and scores 3 touchdowns, and you pace to victory. And it was the best your running game had looked all season with him at 80, 85%. Now, agree. A&M, Arkansas defensive front's not bad. Like, they're not bad. They actually had one of the best rush defenses as well coming in. And you were able to run for $160. The cohesiveness of the running game is something that Brian Kelly talked about on Monday and how that led to the success.
I felt like what was better was the cohesiveness of the tight ends, the wide receivers, quarterback getting us in the right plays, back seeing it better. There was a cohesiveness. We were disconnected at one of those junctures at one time or another when we were struggling running the football. It wasn't just the 5 guys up front. It was something else that was going on. We got the connection of all of those guys in unison this past weekend because we've been spending so much more time on it in practice. So we'll continue to do that because it's beginning to pay off. And we need that running game for us to continue to have the balance we need on offense.
When LSU's needed it in their biggest games of the year to this point, it's been Caden Durham that has been the guy receiving the touches. That has to continue. You got off to such a great start, and you ran the ball so well against Arkansas. Yes, because you had the cohesiveness of everybody doing their job at once and whatnot, but you also had the right running back in the game. And that's no disrespect to Josh Williams. It's no disrespect to anybody else behind them. Caleb Jackson, who actually had a couple really nice runs in that Arkansas game. But you had your best running back in there. And not even at 100%. Everyone's asked a lot, what's the sweet spot for a snap count for Caden Durham? Or for touches for Caden Durham? I don't think we have that answer yet. I think you're getting closer. But if you're in a position where you have to run the game, like I like the 22 that he had last week. I like that. That felt good. That felt right. So I would probably tell you somewhere in that range, 20, 25 touches. I think he can give you that, whether it's in the run game or the pass game. Even at 85%. But if you're in a tight game, a spot where you have to be able to run the football, I don't know if there's a limit that exists right now on him. Well, all I know is if you're looking to run the ball and you're going to have to run the ball against A&M, again, all the same reasons we talked about with Arkansas, that's going to be a hell of an environment. Long, sustained drives, that can take the crowd out of it. Keep that defense on the field. Yeah, they're really good, but you do have some advantages there. I like your offensive line, and I damn sure like your receivers and quarterback going up against their secondary. But the balance is going to be key, and Caden Durham and his ever-increasing touch count is going to be massive in that aspect, in that regard as well for LSU come Saturday. We talked about it after the game against Arkansas. It was great to see you. Maybe you found the running game. This is actually going to be the test. Did you find something, or was that a one-off? Can you build the consistency that Brian Kelly talked about in that cut about cohesiveness? The only way to find out is to go out there and have success running the football again. They'll get their chance against a really stout A&M front come Saturday. We'll talk more about the matchups in the game and LSU's passing attack and how LSU's defense defends A&M's offense and things of that nature as we kind of go through the week as well. Brian Kelly and Mike Elko will meet with media on the SEC Coaches Teleconference later today on Wednesday. And of course, we'll have an injury report, a full injury report for you later in the week as well. One other note here before we break off for the day. Jacques Doucet from WAFB, something that had been whispered about. Now Jacques gets the confirmation on it from the man himself. LSU defensive tackle Jacobian Guillory. Of course, Guillory suffered the torn Achilles against Nichols back in week 2. And, LSU's done just such a marvelous job replacing him, whether it be Gio Paez or you've gotten plenty from Ahmad Bro. You've gotten great pass rush reps from JVR Suggs, from Paris Shan. Like you've done, and obviously Dominic McKinley has been forced to grow up in a hurry, but you have done extremely well at the defensive tackle spot since Guillory has gone down, and that is something that I was not expecting. So that's been a pleasant surprise and a reason this defense is doing as well as they are. And the good news is, per Jacques Doucet, Jacobian Guillory will be back for LSU in 2025, will return for a 6th season, which is awesome. You hate to see a guy who was set for such a major, breakout season have it go down like that, and now you know that it won't. So Jacobian Guillory will be back in 2025 for LSU, and that should just only give you even more confidence in the interior of LSU's defensive line because of what we just said, how well they've filled in, and a lot of those guys will be back. Like, you're getting great experience for Ahmad Bro. You're getting great experience for Dominic McKinley here. You've got some guys who are the one-year stopgaps, but to pair a veteran like Guillory with those young guys and then everyone else you're bringing in here in the recruiting class, when you have some really solid guys that Brad Davis went hard after and is really high on, the state of the defensive line is steadily improving on the interior for LSU. Getting Jacobian Guillory back is just another feather in your cap there. It might still be a spot they have to go look portal-wise just for some more veteran depth, because you will be young at that position outside of Guillory. But he's a huge boost. He's a huge boost, and it's awesome that he can hopefully come back fully healthy, have a great year, and end his time in Baton Rouge as he intended with a breakout season and then move on to the next level. So great news there. Jacobian Guillory will return for a sixth season in Baton Rouge in 2025. That's per Jacques Doucet over at WAFB. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us here today. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, follow me on social media, and be here next time for more on LSU Daily.